And there is a trend recently, and you've joined on this trend, I believe, but the shift from the uniformity and keeping things aesthetically pleasing to the idea of upcycling and rescuing this fruit that's normally thrown away. I mean, talk about the waste that's involved in this process. And I know there's ugly fruits, and there's some of these what's the misfits mark exactly? Imperfect foods. Yeah. So explain this whole category of the industry and where that's going.
It's a really exciting secular tailwind, behind our business and others, and you're starting to hear a lot more about upcycling. And the concept is the end of one supply chain is the beginning of a new supply chain, and you see it with innovators and disruptors that might be harnessing a byproduct of manufacturing that would otherwise be a waste stream, like spent grain from craft brewing, and where a craft brewer would have paid a firm to cart away all of that nutrient-dense barley and grain, and instead are finding innovative snack brands to take that and convert that into nutritious, granola bars. With Rind, the same concept applies, but has an even more, elementary solution, which is don't strip away the peel in the first place. And so what has been happening is when you think of something like orange juice, which is the fourth most consumed beverage in the U.S. after water, coffee, and tea, is OJ. The amount of citrus peels that are wasted, because half of an orange is rind and pith and the other half is juice, it adds up to a huge number. Citrus peels alone represent something like 10% of all food waste. It's about 8 billion pounds. And so we think there's a huge opportunity. It starts with the small step of encouraging consumers to enjoy whole fruit, whole veg snacking. But in aggregate, as that message gets amplified, we think we can actually, make progress on a big problem.
And this rescued fruit that might not look so cute, might not look so uniform, is offset by really beautiful branding. The bags that the fruit comes in, and then also the box that I received it looks like a giant orange peel is covering it, which is really cool. So how many iterations did you go through to get that branding right? And what was that process to make sure you are making the notion of peels sexy for consumers?
Totally. I think I'll go into how the branding for Rind came to be. One other thing I think is important is that it feels like a really good time to be using a megaphone for this message about the Rind, and that's because there's a lot of cross currents that are also helping consumers more easily embrace a product like ours. One of which is multiple use cases. What was just a snack is now an accompaniment on a charcuterie board or on a cheese tray or gracing a craft cocktail. And I think more and more people of our generation that are enjoying a delicious drink at the bar are seeing as much attention paid to the garnish as the liquid itself. It was very important to us where the product was so simple, whole fruit, roots, rind, seeds, and stem, no added anything. The packaging had to really pop such that we weren't just a commodity in a high private label category.
Sounds like several things have contributed to the success of Rind in such a short period. You've certainly took a lot of time figuring out the product market fit. You've used crafty marketing techniques and methodic strategy and distribution and launch. And you've got a unique product in many ways. You were bootstrapping a lot of this time. You finally kind of gave in, right? And this past June raised a $6.1 million Series A funding round. What makes Rind so appealing to investors? But also, what made this the time to take on that money?
There is the brand potential, and then there's the business. And the third leg of the stool would be the team. And a lot of the business can be analyzed 100 different ways. And I'm sure that is the diligence that our Series A investors did on our company. But what is harder to quantify is some of that brand magic and potential that others see and the vision you're able to, articulate and persuade others. and the team and the capability of the folks driving the business and building that culture. Those are really hard to find, all three. I believe we have those pieces in place. I say that with humility. And I think a lot of it is shaped by myself and my brother-in-law not coming from the CPG world, but having an outsider perspective, having a really almost conservative financial framework with which we're launching this business, and understanding sometimes the hardest thing is to say no. And finally, I think our brand is bigger than dried fruit. And I think ultimately that is what has convinced some amazing investment partners to bet on us, which is we've started as RIND Fruit Snacks, but the business itself is RIND. And the future is anything that has a skin on, snack play is a platform opportunity for us to expand into. We have to earn the right and be able to leverage the brand equity we've built in fruit first. But I'll give you one example, which is chips. Chips is a category that's 10 times the size of dried fruit. And dried fruit isn't a tiny category. And what's missing from chips, in our view, is any functional attribute. No one is looking for vitamin C from their potato chip. But what if we could provide essentially an immunity chip using a thin-cut, crispy slice of bright, tangy fruit, perhaps with a seasonal or flavor profile that can mimic the craveability factor of a salty snack, but with all the benefits of the fruit. And not to give too much away, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Ooh, very exciting. Getting into the chip market. That's so exciting.
Look at my chops already.
If you like what you saw and you like what you heard, you can listen to the entire episode of this podcast, Business Casual, anywhere you get your podcasts. And please go ahead and subscribe to the Morning Brew YouTube channel, and go ahead and click on that alarm bell, that thing right there, so you can be alerted anytime there's a new video.